All right, here we are, Thursday evening, 4/22/2021. Welcome aboard, guys. Welcome, friends. Happy for you to join us. This evening is episode 4 of the Longball Lounge podcast. I am your host, Jesse Clark. Most of you know my Twitter by now, at jcrockett24. I don't really have a whole lot to plug besides this show, other than the fact that I've been posting some short videos, breakdowns of players, and I call them baseball briefs. So kind of can get into that here in a bit, but otherwise, I am joined again, guest that I have for the show, my friend Josh Barlog.
Well, let me tell you, it's an honor to be the first recurring guest. I appreciate that. I'm going to put that on my resume for sure.
But see where that gets you. They'll probably fire you.
Happy Friday, Junior, everybody. And I'll dive in. I'll save you the question. My name is Josh. I'm part of the On Tap Sports Network here in Chicago. Obviously, big White Sox fan, covering the rest of Chicago for ontapsportsnet.com. And we have a little hashtag that we like to use. I shouldn't say little. It's gotten some traction over the past year or so. But hashtag Crack'em. The beer is the on tap difference. So cheers, Jesse, and to everybody tuning in. Let's have some fun tonight.
Let's do that. We are heading into the weekend almost, so have a little bit of something to celebrate. Other than the fact that I don't want to make this. I don't want to go on too big of a diatribe here, but this week was the very first time that any of my content has been published on a fantasy sports site, and it was freaking awesome. I mean, it's only 10 minutes of content, but just the idea of somebody that taught me, his name's Jeff Collins. He runs Longball is the site. The guy back in 2017 taught me most of what I know about the advanced analytics and stuff. And so it was just really, really cool to see him being one of the ones that actually reached out to me asking if I would be up for doing content for his site. So super huge accomplishment, even though, I haven't really gotten much from it yet. But just the idea of it being accessible on such a big platform like that is really, really cool. So I wanted to give Jeff Collins a shout out. Caleb Skinner's already chiming in here. He's going, Josh, I hate you, Jesse.
Hey. I want to touch on this before we move on real quick. Congratulations. Because I know, as content creators and stuff like that, we know how saturated all of the markets are. It just doesn't matter whether you're a writer for tennis or you break down cricket film. It's so saturated. So to get on another site where it's possible you discovered a little bit more, or other people outside of the circle start to know your name, it's a big accomplishment. So I'll pat you on the back so you don't have to do it yourself.
Thanks. And Garrett's giving us a shout out as well. What up, Garrett? Thanks for tuning in, my friend.
Is Iowa ever going to get a baseball team?
I guess it's just the Cubs that they root for over there. I don't know.
Some people in Iowa can't even watch the Cubs because of Marquee, but I'll leave it at that. I'll let that go. I won't open that can. I'm just saying it's going to be Nashville first, but Iowa, blue collar boys over there. Maybe they deserve one.
Man, the comments are just popping off tonight. I'm loving it. Thursday night, people feeling good. Love it. So that being said, I don't really know what a good transition is, but I guess I'll kind of just hit it with the heavy hitters right off the bat. And I don't even think that you're too prepared for this, Josh. So let's just move right into the get to know you section. We did this last time, did a little bit of either or type things, but I want to maybe do a couple fun things. But dude, I have some follow-up questions from your stream that you did a few weeks ago, and I just have to get it off my chest. Yeah, I have to dig into this. So for those of you that don't know, most of you that are tuning in and are familiar with our content do know, Josh is, would you consider yourself fully blind, or would you say?
So I have light detection, and I'm happy you brought that up, because there's a few different terms that you can use for people who don't, who are legally blind. That's one of them, legally blind. Visually impaired is another one. Low vision is another one, or you can just say blind. So it's easier just to say blind, but I feel like the thought that comes in people's heads when you say, "Oh yeah, I'm blind," is complete darkness, and that's not the case. So my vision, so I just say blind. It's just whatever.
Caleb's comment, he said he's just blocking out the haters.
You know what? You know what's funny is when I started making content, started streaming, and I was wearing these sunglasses, everybody was like, "Okay, what's up with the glasses though?" I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let that ride. I'm gonna see if anybody can actually figure it out, if they can connect the dots, or if they just think I'm a douchebag. I don't know. That's what it is.
So I have a follow-up to my question to you. And I asked basically, how's your sports watching experience? Because I've always been so curious about that. And you did a good job of breaking it down, but I had a couple follow-up questions. You
Sure.
said you mostly relied on the broadcast when you are tuning in, but are you tuning in like to the television? Are you tuning into the radio? What are you tuning into? And when you are viewing television, can you see anything? So like, for instance, the reason I'm asking is because I occasionally will see you post clips on your Twitter of like Yerman's freaking monster shot or something like that. Are you able to actually see that? Like, how are you able to post that stuff to Twitter when you can't fully see what's going on? Like, I don't really know how to phrase the question, but that's what's kind of intriguing me as to just what your real sports watching experience is like. What are you mostly reliant on? Like, can you see, the shape of the ball being thrown to the plate, and you can see maybe guys swinging, but you can't really see if they're making contact? I'm just trying to see the exact nature of what you can and can't visualize.
So do you remember, you guys have to go look this up if you didn't see it, but last year, it was 2 years ago, sorry, 2019, when the teams wore their player jerseys, when like they had nicknames on the back.
Yeah.
So the White Sox, they wore all black uniforms. And the visiting team, I don't remember who we were playing, but they were in all white uniforms. So like literally white socks, white pants, white jerseys, white hats, the whole thing. And I remember I was sitting there watching, quote unquote, watching the TV. And I'm like, oh my God, like there's so much contrast here that I can actually like see the shape of the players. Like it's weird. It was just like looking at like a blob, but the colors were there was so much contrast on the screen. I was able to pick up on that. Currently, no. I'll tell you this, like if I'm looking at the TV, which I do, and it's just a force of habit. But it's mainly like I can tell when the camera angle changes, but that's about it. Like if they're doing a close up on like whoever's batting, can't tell. I just know that the camera angle changed, and that's about it. So
if somebody makes an amazing, miraculous fielding play, like a diving play, you can't really fully understand the greatness of what it is. You just are kind of relying on how special the broadcast team is saying it was, correct?
Yeah. But I also, because I played until I was 18, I know I try to put myself in the situation. Like I try and think, okay, if it's if there's a left-handed hitter up who pulls the ball quite a bit, I know that Luis Robert might be shaded toward right center, and if he's going to his right, he's got a longer way to go. So if he's making a diving catch, he's covering a lot of ground. It's gonna be cool and tough. So I kind of piece things together that way. And as far as the clips go, so again, if I'm watching the game, I know that they just homered. So I'm looking for those clips on Twitter. And, if I see an account like throw up like if it's like White Sox Talk is the affiliated Twitter account who posts a lot of that content. And if they throw up a tweet that has a video, I'll click on the video, listen to the sound, and if it's what I heard before, I know that's the home run, and I'll tweet it out. So none of it is ever like me completely relying on myself to put those up there or to keep track of things. Like I said before, it's a lot of the broadcast team, a little bit of my intuition, and then social media wise, I basically just steal other people's content.
But Caleb's got a good question in here, and I think you might have touched on this on your actual stream, so I think I might know the answer. But he's asking, do you go to games and listen to the radio broadcast like on your headphones when you actually do go to games?
So that used to be possible. Do you remember? Cubs fans are going to hate this. The Bartman thing when he was sitting in the stands with his headphones on.
Yep.
Because he was listening to the radio. It used to be where there was a couple second delay. I think at most it was 7 seconds if you were listening to the radio and watching the game live. But now, because because you're streaming and there's so many different avenues that audio has to go through, even if you are listening to the radio, it's quite a bit. It's like between 15 and 30 seconds now.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's tough. So, I used to love going to games. At this point, it's just like, it's not really worth it to me. And I don't mind. Like I've kind of just learned to live with it. I mean, I would love it if I could actually go and enjoy it. But
yeah,
I know for me, like, sitting in the stands and like having to listen to, it's like, why don't I just go home and listen to it? Like, or why don't I just go home and put it on the TV? Like, it's easier.
Plus, like, I'm kind of just imagining your whole experience. Like, you pull up to the stadium. I would just imagine navigating a huge crowd like that when you're not.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, that just does not sound at all. Yeah. Your home watching experience, it has to be just far superior to that.
Oh, it's sick too. Like, I love it. I don't even, people are like, oh man, you're at home watching the game. I'm like, yeah, I love this. This is fantastic. Like, like if I'll grab a beer, get some food. Like, it's what I don't know. I don't mind it at all. And then, like, adding on to it, being on Twitter and stuff, is you interact with everybody who's also watching the game. And it's just, I don't know. That's kind of my in-game experience. And I enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. A lot of times baseball is probably one of the few sports, for me anyways, that the experience of going to the game and watching the game live is actually superior to being at home. Like, if I'm watching a football game, I think I would prefer just being at home.
Yep.
Unless you're rich enough to be on the 50-yard line and 10 rows up, you're really not getting that great of a view. And you have to constantly try. I mean, you can't even tell if a guy makes a first down other than the fact that the crowd's going wild. So I tend to agree with you there. So, okay. Let's get into a little bit more baseball talk. This is still kind of a little bit get to know you, but I want your feedback on this. So I actually just had this random thought today. So I tweeted it out probably a couple hours ago. I am of the belief, and this is not like a thought that I have heard too often, so that's why I was curious to see what kind of reaction it would get. I think the rule of a batter swinging at the third strike and being able to get to first base if it gets past the catcher is extremely stupid. And let me explain, and then maybe you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Right. So, first of all, if the ball is getting past the catcher and you're swinging at it, like, that's a bad pitch. So why should you be rewarded because you swung at a bad pitch? Like, it's strike three, you should just be out. That's my personal opinion. I don't think you should be rewarded just because you swung and, the ball rickets away and 20 seconds goes by before the catcher gets to it. I mean, I just personally feel like the pitcher did what he was supposed to do. He made a pitch to make you swing and miss, and you should be walking back to the dugout.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So here's the thing. I feel like a little bit of that might be a technicality, because if first base is occupied, they can't run. So that's something to think about. But You know what? Here's the thing. This just popped into my head. I promise I did not have this. I didn't plan this out. In an era where they want more offense, it's going to stay. Because you're getting another base runner. And you're getting more at bats, right?
Yeah, but doesn't it prolong the game to make it longer too? Like, aren't they trying to shorten the game? That would be my counter argument.
Yeah, but I think they want more offense over shorter games.
Okay.
Because if you think about the timing of these games in the past 5 years, there really isn't that big of a difference. I mean, there might be a little bit of a difference time wise, but if you think about it, I mean, we're talking minutes. So
unless you're playing the Reds bullpen, giving up 7 walks in 5 innings and having a 4-hour game and losing 14-11, then yeah.
Jesus. But yeah, you know what? I get your point though, right? Because if you think about the fundamentals of baseball, catching a batted ball is an out, but he swung and missed and it wasn't caught. So like he didn't make contact with the baseball. So why does it need to be caught? Maybe I'm thinking too much into that, but like I'm trying to play advocate a little bit, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where like your position is a catcher, so catch the ball. I mean, like it sounds dumb, but like maybe that's why you're being rewarded if nobody's on. It's like,
yeah, I see that. I can see that. Okay. Well, I still feel a little strongly towards my view, but I
haven't swung me at all.
Okay. Well, before we get into this too much further here, I wanted to give a quick few, I don't want to say ad reads, but kind of give you guys some attention here. Longball Lounge apparel is out. I've stated it before in prior episodes. It's a shirt and or a tumbler. Right, it's both are below $25. Like it's pretty affordable. I feel like, I know I'm pretty biased, I feel like the design's pretty sweet. So if you want to support me, support this podcast, I would greatly appreciate that. Also, we have an affiliation with MyBookie. So if you use promo code USN100 today, you can get a 100% sign up bonus. Huge UFC pay-per-view card this weekend. So you can bet on some things like that. Obviously MLB betting, which I'm actually up on for the year this year. So, plenty of things to get in on the action to support the pod and support the group. Would greatly appreciate it. And last but not least, I'm going to keep plugging this until I can keep getting more subscribers. Guys, just click the subscribe button on my new YouTube page, Fantasy Sports with Jesse Clark. It's just like 2 or 3 clicks and you're there and you're done. And then you can automatically get updated and notifications every time I go live. So I don't have to keep texting you friends and everything else when I'm going live to support. You guys will just automatically be, alerted to that. And if you can like the videos, it obviously helps. The more likes and the more views that you get, obviously the better off we all can be. And, if one of us succeeds, then all of us succeed. So rant over, just wanted to kind of get that off my chest. And now we can kind of move on to the meat and bones here in the fantasy community. So first order of business is injury roundup and fantasy replacements. There have been just an enormous amount of injuries, it feels like, early this season. And I don't know if it has to do with the fact that it was a shortened season last year. Now we're finally going into a full season. The season ran a little bit later than usual last season as well. So maybe they just didn't have the offseason program that they needed. Who knows? But man, oh man, we were just talking before we went live. Like, the Dodgers are still amazing, but they've lost some key pieces. Like, Bellinger's out, Gavin Lux is out, Mookie Betts missed a few games. They have a few injuries that are piling up. We have, who else? So today, or maybe yesterday, why am I blanking on live? This is always a great riveting content when you lose your train of thought in the middle of the Padres pitcher, Lamet. He made his debut yesterday, but he threw like 2 innings and then he had like a forearm strain. So now he's going to be out for X amount of time. Just a few others to kind of look out for. Mookie actually came back today, so that's good. Bellinger took live batting practice today. Julian Merriweather, the short-term closer for the Toronto Blue Jays, is out with an oblique injury, and he's going to be shut down for probably, they're expecting, between 5 and 8 weeks. Their other closer, Jordan Romano, has an elbow issue, but he could probably return this weekend. We have the Astros with all the COVID issues. They're finally starting to come back. I think they haven't officially confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that Jose Altuve was the person that actually tested positive for COVID, because he's like the only guy in that core that is not back yet. So they're suspecting he could be back this weekend. Just a few other names to consider. Miguel Cabrera has been out for a while. Brian Hayes, man, this one's huge.
Yeah,
he re-aggravated that wrist injury, and it looks like he'll be out for a while. He's going to get an opinion from a specialist. So whenever you hear those things, it's not the greatest of news. So you just wanted to mention a few names. Maybe you might have a few others. I mean, obviously some of your guys and my guys are injured as well. Mike Moustakas has been out for quite a while. Obviously, Eloy missed for a while. Tim Anderson's back now, but do they have anybody else? Oh, Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn. Yeah, the strain trap. Like, how do you do that? Too many shrugs, dude? Like, what's yeah, I mean, here's the good thing about the White Sox schedule, and I'll wrap this thought up quickly, is we're dealing with a lot of these injuries, like, having Yasmani was banged up a little bit in the first couple weeks. He's finally starting to get to the point where he's playing a little bit more. Tim Anderson, that one was big. He's the straw that stirs the drink. The Eloy thing sucks, and then Lance Lynn. But we've had so many damn off days that, like, some of them planned, some of them not.
From weather, yeah.
From weather and just, postponements and scheduled days off and stuff like that. But I think these teams are really trying to figure themselves out, not only identity wise, but like how much they're going to be able to push themselves. Because whether we want to think it or not, even though you haven't even played 60 games yet, the mentality is completely different. Where like it's not a sprint anymore. You're in a marathon for 162, and you got to try and stay healthy as much as possible. So you might see some guys, I hate to say it, but maybe not play as hard. They want to make sure they get through 162.
Yeah, you can definitely see how it could be impacting things going forward. So, from a fantasy replacements standpoint, at this point, it's a little tough because, all the guys that have started out the season super hot, they've already been picked up on free agents. The Yerman Mercedeses of the world. They've already been added. So I picked up McKinstry for the Dodgers. He's actually had a really good start to the season. Somebody that nobody really knew about coming into the season, but he's really come on for them and been able to fill some gaps. He can play outfield and second base both. So a little bit of a utility guy. Next thing you know, I'm looking at his profile and it's saying day to day. So he was scratched from the lineup today. Wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, if anybody, look, I texted you about this and I'm itching now. I am itching so bad to jump into a fantasy baseball league because, man, so I was never that type of person to be like, yeah, I want to check my lineup every single day and do this and every single day. Like, I was a fantasy football guy, but my palms are itching to get into one of these leagues. So if anybody's watching who needs a replacement, maybe your cousin's uncle's brother hasn't checked his lineup in 3 weeks, just send me a DM, man. I'll take care of it. I'll jump on the waiver wire like I did in fantasy football. I changed my entire team in like a week. Yeah,
dude, I wish I would have been able to get you in the league that I just started this year. So, this is an open invitation live on air to participate next year. The league is a really unique setup where it's a best ball like draft and hold style. So you're just drafting your team and your computer sets your lineup each week based on the best stats that are available, your whole team accumulated. So you draft a bunch of guys, starters and bench guys, and whichever your computer says is your best lineup for the whole week, that's who gets plugged in. But the only stats that are tracked throughout the year are home runs for hitters and strikeouts for pitchers. So it's a very unique setup. So we called it the Dinger Derby Classic with a K, obviously with strikeouts. So, I started this league and I want it this year, and a part of it's going to go to the Wounded Warrior Project as a charitable foundation, which is also a really cool element to this league. But the idea was I wanted to have several different leagues together, be able to get 50 to 60 people all in the same league, where you split it off into having 12 team leagues, and then those teams compete against each other in their league. But then towards the end of the season, once the top 2 finishers of each league move forward, then those teams play each other in a main event or whatever you want to call it at the end. So pretty cool format. We weren't able to get as many signups as anticipated because I kind of pulled it together last minute. Should have probably done a little bit better planning, but life got in the way, so wasn't able to do that. But I think we only ended up having 15. So we just had a 15-team league. So next year, hopefully we can get more people, and obviously would love to have you in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so as far as fantasy replacements, we kind of got sidetracked there. Trying to think of some guys. I'm in a 14-team league, so I'm kind of just looking at guys. This is a little bit deeper league. 12 teams is typically standard in fantasy baseball. Some guys that are available in mine are the Clint Frazier's, Hunter Dozier, Sean Murphy, Cesar Hernandez. Jordan Luplow has had a really strong start to the season, surprisingly. This guy has, what does he have? 5 homers and 11 RBI already, and nobody even considered him.
He's a guy who, maybe you stash on your bench and just plug him in against lefties. I mean, that's pretty much what Cleveland does. Is if Carlos Rodon or some other southpaws on the mound, he's starting. And other than that, that's it. He might play 70 games this year, but it's all against lefties. The Clint Frazier, I wouldn't mind. I feel like some of those names that you mentioned are they're good stash pieces. They're good. I just need guys on my bench for a rainy day. And you throw them in there. Those
rainy day jar.
Yep. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up to our prior discussion. Actually, I'm just curious now that we're talking about stats and players. How are you able to look up stats? How are you able to track who maybe some of the league leaders are in certain categories and those types of things?
Yeah. So, I mentioned this in the stream, and this is part of how I do it. So my computer, we call it the robot, that robot bitch. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
But it tells me everything that's on the screen, and I use the keyboard to navigate. So, if I go to Baseball Reference or MLB.com or ESPN, whatever it might be, I just navigate through and it kind of tells me, and I know exactly what I'm looking for. So, it's pretty easy to find. But yeah, it's the robot. Me and the robot have a little bonding time as we look up WOBA and BABIP. So,
speaking of which, that is a wonderful segue to our next topic of discussion. All right, so before the stream, I told you I wanted to almost do a live session of what I've been doing in these short little clips, baseball briefs.
Yeah.
I want to do a little bit of player breakdown. So I asked you for maybe one player from the Sox that's been struggling a little bit more than usual, and maybe see if we can figure out what they might be going through, what maybe some of the cause for concerns, and maybe some things that they could do to improve going forward, and maybe whether you should believe that this slump should last forever, or whether, we can believe that they can bump out of it. So I'm going to do that for the Reds as well. So I'll let you, while I'm trying to get the share screen option up, I'll let you kind of get into who your player is going to be.
Yeah, so I brought to the table tonight a player who's received a ridiculous amount of criticism for just being the first couple weeks. We aren't even in May yet, and everybody wants to trade him. And that is Yasmani Grandal. The guy makes $18 million a year, and he's struggling. He's really struggling under the Mendoza line, hitting 150. I think his OPS is under 700. It's not good. It's not good for Yasmani Grandal. Hit a homer the other day. So, here and there, sporadic, but there's one specific stat in here that I noticed, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Jesse, I don't really know when I'm going deep into analytics, aside from, what he slashes and strikeouts and walks and stuff like that. When you're talking about really deep analytics, I kind of start drooling on myself. I have no idea what this stuff is, but
well, that's what I'm here for.
There's one stat that my eyebrows raised when I found it out, because it's so evident, but I actually thought that it was a little bit higher, and I foresee this number shrinking mightily as the weather gets warmer. And I don't know if you want me to get into that now while you have it up, or
yeah, go ahead.
So his ground ball rate is 53% right now. That's high. That's high.
Okay. Let's save that a little bit here, because I'm familiar with Baseball Savant, and I know exactly where the ground ball rate is, and it's down towards the bottom of the screen, believe it or not. So we got a little bit of ways to get there. So the way that it kind of breaks down is towards the top, it gives a MLB percentile ranking. So like right now, believe it or not, a lot of his stats on this percentile rankings are red, which means good. I mean, blue means bad, red means good. So the only thing in the blue right now for him is XBA, so expected batting average. That could be directly related to that ground ball percentage that you discussed. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. All right, so average exit velocity is in the 82nd percentile, pretty high. Hard hit percent, 80%, pretty high. Walk percentage, 95th percentile, extremely high.
And 9 walks this year.
Yeah, whiff percentage, which means is pretty decent as well. 71st percentile, barrel percentage 54, X slugging 65, chase rates good, K percentage is good. So it's good that he's not striking out and he's walking. I mean, those are, if you just want to put it in for layman's terms, what are the most important things for a hitter? You want to have a guy that gets on base. You want a guy that doesn't strike out a bunch, and you want a guy that makes good contact and hits hard contact. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to, right? So if I go down to his surface stats, he's only got 2 home runs on the year, a 306 OBP, but that walk rate and everything else is looking so high. So for me, a 150 average, good Lord.
Well, I do want to add 2 of his 6 hits are home run. It's like, okay, I mean, I didn't think he's a power hitter, but like if you're not hitting much of anything and a couple of them are home runs, it is what it is.
Off the top of your head, do you think you guys have faced any, as far as just the breakdown between lefties and righties? Because I know he's a switch hitter. Just curious to know how many guys you think that they've faced on each side. Far more righties. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's possible it's under a handful of lefties.
Okay. All right. So let's scroll down a little bit here on the screen. Barrel percentage is 9.4. To compare to last year, it was 7.6. 2019, which I believe he had a pretty big year, was 11.3. So his career highs around that 11 to 12 range. So he's still got some work to get to that. His exit velocity average is 92.4, though. That's pretty decent. Launch angle is 12.4, which is the second lowest in his career. And I think we can kind of link that with the ground ball percentage that you mentioned earlier. Oh my, look at this. Sweet spot percentage is down 21.9, was 38.1 last year, 37.5 the year before. So that means he's just not making good contact even when he is making good contact. So it's pretty surprising to me that he's got a bunch of red in the hard hit range and everything. If he's not sweet spotting it, maybe he's just hitting a bunch of balls on the ground, like you said, and that's not what we want in fantasy and production standpoint. The old adage that you hear from broadcasters around the country where, oh, just put the ball in play, put it on the ground. No, that's not going to get you production. You're not going to drive in runs doing that. Think about it. There's 5 infielders in the space that you have to hit it through the infield. Like it's hard to hit ground balls for hits. It really is.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's move on. X batting average is not great. Hard hit percentage is 50 though. So he's really hitting it hard. And, you just have to think with the way that he's elevated the ball in the past that he can kind of get out of this funk. Okay, so let's see pitch percentage by a season. So the first thing that's sticking out to me right away is he's seeing a lot less fastballs this year, and he's seeing more off-speed pitches. So maybe that could be a little bit of the behind the scenes as to what might be giving him some fits. Because if you look, his whiff percentage, so the amount of times that he's swinging and missing on fastballs is 13.9, and the next closest pitch is 28.6. So yeah, he's a good fastball hitter, which doesn't surprise me at all. But he's got a batting average of 136, which is the lowest of all pitches against fastballs. So something's just not right here. It doesn't seem.
I wanted to bring him up tonight because here's my opinion. I'll stray away from analytics a little bit because I'm old fashioned when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yasmani Grandal is, regardless of his numbers currently, is still one of the best catchers in the league. And when you look at how he's putting together at bats, like you said, he's still walking, not striking out much, and he's making contact. He's just beating a damn thing into the ground and not making sweet spot contact. It's only a matter of time for this guy. It is only a matter of time.
It sure is. And this is the perfect spot for me to reflect on that. And I've definitively said what it is. This is exactly what's giving him issues. I'm glad you brought up the ground ball percentage because that's exactly what it is. Listen to this. He had 36% ground balls last year, and he's got 53.1 right now. Yep. That's crazy. That you do not see that amount of jump in any sort of time. So, and not only that, but his line drive rate was 31 last year. It's down to 15. So he's not even hitting line drives. He is really hitting way too many ground balls. So all it's going to take is a little slight adjustment from him to start crushing the ball because he's hitting it hard, man. He's hitting it hard. So if you change those ground balls into fly balls and line drives, he is going to be putting up really, really good stats going forward. And especially if you combine that with his great plate discipline, we talked about it earlier. He's got great walk rates and everything else. I really like the prospects of Yasmani Grandal going forward. I'm glad we looked into this because I didn't really, I don't pay attention as closely to Sox baseball as you do, obviously, but I have my fingerprint in the fantasy side of things pretty closely, but I didn't even realize how much he had struggled. I knew he was struggling, but I didn't know to the extent. And now that I'm seeing all this stuff, I like this a lot. This is a good buy low candidate. Go out there and trade for him. Yep. Go out there and trade for him.
This is a guy too, like, there's really no one, and no disrespect to Zach Collins or Yerman Mercedes, but there's nobody behind him who's going to take over for him. He's the guy. So he's going to get his chances. He's going to get his plate appearances, and he's probably going to get even more as the season goes on because Sox trying to be in contention. Tougher teams. You're starting to play teams who found themselves a little bit. This is definitely a guy. I'm with you. I'm not saying this because I'm a Sox fan. Just paying attention to him every single day, and just the way he's able to stay focused even behind the plate when he's not at the plate. You have to get this guy. If you need a top tier catcher to round out your lineup, this is the guy. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and he's 83rd percentile in framing. So just to your point, he's doing it defensively each day, day in and day out. So he's going to be staying in that lineup no matter what. So he'll be able to get out of this slump pretty easily. Just start elevating that pitch a little bit more. Hopefully he'll be seeing a little more fastballs or being able to kind of, capitalize on those pitches. I'm just one last thing before we move on. I'm curious to see so his zone contact is almost 89%, which is just absolutely fabulous. And his zone swing is only 40% though. So maybe he's taken too many pitches. Maybe he's getting into bad counts and they're throwing him off speed pitches to put him away, and he's getting more off speed stuff because he's just watching the first strike. I'd be interested. Okay, so first pitch swing. Oh yeah, great. He's only at 10% first pitch swing. That's by far the career low. So that tells me he's being a little too patient up there. Needs to start attacking a little bit early in the counts. How about that analysis?
The thing is though with that is that it's sort of a catch-22, right? It's like, do you want him to be patient because he's got great plate discipline? If a pitcher's not really, if he's not feeling it and can't find the zone, that's when you want him to take some pitches. But at the same time, like his numbers aren't really reflecting on what he could do. So you would want him to be aggressive. But at the same, again, it's sort of like between a rock and a hard place. You got to pick your spots. But I agree. I'm glad you brought up the off speed stuff, because if he's taking first pitch fastball and then maybe fouling one off or takes a breaking ball for a strike or whatever it is, if he's getting breaking stuff or off speed with 2 strikes, he's rolling it over into the shift. So yeah. And that ground ball rate, rolling it over into the shift. I mean, look, if you hashtag White Sox and add Yasmani Grandal or just Grandal during a Sox game, you will see 9 tweets out of 10 that are like, this guy sucks. He's just, all he does is hit ground balls into the shift. Just to give him a week off, he sucks. And we're going over these numbers, and it's like he needs more play. Actually, he doesn't need any days off.
Yeah, those are the kind of people you need in your fantasy league. So you can trade for Yasmani Grandal. Okay, let's move on over to my guy, Luis Castillo of the Reds. I think this is going to be a little more disheartening than the Yasmani Grandal one that we just discussed. Okay, so let's try to figure out what the hell is going on with Luis Castillo. He's got a 6 earner run average right now. Still striking out 16 guys in 19 innings, so pretty decent strikeout rate. But honestly, he should be up more towards like 19, 20 with his career norm. So even that 16 strikeout seems a little low. 1.66 whip, not ideal. Okay, so let's dig into these numbers a little bit. Seeing a lot more blue on this page, Josh. Not liking this. Okay, so his chase rate's high. If we want to kind of start with the good, his chase rate's high, which means he's making hitters chase outside of the zone, which if you think about that, that's the best way to get hitters out, is to make them chase outside of the zone. His walk percentage is decent, so he's not walking a ton of guys. Fastball velocity is still in the 90th percentile. Hard hit percentage is 60th percentile, but everything else is in blue. Oh, gosh. Okay. So he's up 3% in barrel rate, which means people are making harder contact against him. His xERA is 4.47 compared to 6.05 ERA, so maybe we can point that as a positive. His walk rate, Oh gosh, his K rate is down from 30% last year to 17% this year.
Yeah,
so
I mean, here's the thing. I don't remember where I heard this, but I think it might have been on MLB Network. They were talking about just how pitchers and hitters approach the game nowadays. And as we go over these numbers for Castillo, it just makes me think of what they were talking about. And it's like baseball is either home run or strikeout now. And it's like you're going to see gaudy numbers from pitchers who strike out, 30 hitters in 19 innings because they're either striking guys out or they're giving up home runs. And the Castillo thing, it's like, yeah, you're giving up runs and your strikeouts are low. But if you can start throwing, 2-strike counts and getting these guys out, I mean, I think that's how you explain the xERA. Is like if you can start making some better pitches and getting ahead in counts, you're going to see that ERA dip a lot.
Yeah, so I'm starting to pick up on what I don't like here. Changeup is his highest percentage thrown pitch, which is good because that's his best pitch. But the four-seamer is his second highest. His four-seamer sucks, dude. Believe it or not, he throws really fast, but his fastball is just not good. And his slider usage is only down at 10.9. And his slider is underrated. He didn't used to have it. He just developed it, I think, last year, the year prior. I'm telling you, this guy's slider is way better than what he's giving credit for. So if we look at his pitch percentage on, year over year, 30% in the changeup last year, up to 41 this year, like that. But he's up a little. Well, no, he's not. He's up like just a tiny fraction of a percentage on the four-seamer, but he's down with the sinker from 25 to 20, which automatically alerts me to the fact that he might be not getting as many ground balls as what he maybe did last year. We can look into that here in a bit. His slider usage is down from 17% to 10%. Got to get that slider usage up.
Yeah.
A lot of times with these guys, it's a pitch mix thing. Because if you become predictable in today's MLB, you're going to pay. Like hitters are taught and preached over and over about doing damage, not just making solid contact, but doing damage with that contact. So if you're predictable with your pitch selection and you're in not favorable counts, hitters are going to make you pay. Here's where I start getting a little more concerned. And the optimist of side is saying he has pitched 3 out of his 4 pitching appearances have been in really crappy weather conditions. So keep that in mind. He is from the Dominican Republic, where he lived his whole life, it being very, very warm climate. Now he's pitching in cold temperatures. I can tell you from just watching the games, he does not look comfortable in the cold. So there's no fact base behind that, but I'm telling you, he doesn't look comfortable in the cold. So his fastball velocity, this is where I start getting concerned. So last year, his four-seamer was 97 on average. This year, it's 95. 2 ticks down actually does mean something.
Yep.
So especially when you're throwing 97, there's science and math behind it, guys. I'm telling you, go look it up. Everybody thinks that, I hear some people roll their eyes at there being made such a big deal about guys throwing hard now. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because it's harder to hit. And the numbers would back that up. The changeup is down 86.4 from 88.2. Sinker is down from 97.5 to 95.6. Again, all these pitches are 2 mile per hour lower.
I mean, hold on. Can we just talk about a 97 mile an hour sinker? It's super ridiculous. Well, but you brought up a thing that I think is really evident, other than the fact that I don't know the health of him, but maybe coming off of the spring, he might have had a bad winter, who knows? But being a Dominican guy, he's throwing in bad weather. He's not as loose. I think all this stuff turns once the weather starts to turn as well.
I hope you're right, but normally the only reason I mention this velocity thing is there are some circumstances where you can almost like predict an injury is going to happen here soon from seeing the drop in velocity. And I'm hoping that's not what we're seeing with Castillo here. I'm hoping it's just the cold weather and maybe he doesn't have great grip on his pitches or he's not warm, like you said. I'm hoping that's the case, because if so, then we can probably see these numbers start improving. But as we mentioned, the sinker usage is down. So what does that mean? Ground ball percentage down from 58.4 to 50. So 8 percentage points is actually a decent amount here. His fly ball percentage and line drive percentages both up. Not what you want to see from a pitcher. Barrel percentage is up 3 points from last year. Again, these are bad signs. In fact, if you look at similar pitchers to Luis Castillo, you see 2017 Jacob Barnes. Yeah, do you remember him? Probably not. 2017 James Pezos. 2017 Matt Albers. 2019 Justin Wilson. Like, who are these guys?
Oh my God. Matt Albers, White Sox legend, hit a double against the New York Mets.
I love it. So this is kind of what you're seeing the struggles come from. So I'll say I'm a little more concerned, obviously, than Yasmani Grandal. This isn't a slam dunk. He's going to improve drastically. So keep an eye out on that. I am a little bit more worried about Castillo. He's really got to switch up the why is my banner changing? Like in the middle of the show. What the hell is going on? Oh my gosh. Don't you just love how some of these things work out like this? How about we go back to the real one? Here we go. All right. Now it actually looks normal. So what obviously the concerns about Luis Castillo are the pitch selection and the velocity. So if he can switch up the pitch selection a little bit and he can improve that velocity, I think you're going to see more ground balls, and I think you're probably going to see more favorable stats in his realm going forward. But I will say, proceed with caution. This is not a guy that I'm going out telling you guys go out and trade for, et cetera, et cetera. I'm waiting. I think this is kind of a wait and see for fantasy to see if he's really dealing with an injury or whether he has room for improvement. So that being said,
my curiosity would actually be, because I know Cincinnati was in Arizona, so I'd be interested to see if he pitched in Arizona. Like, what was the non-bad weather game? And I would want to see his numbers during that game, because if it was in Arizona, you could probably see an uptick in all of those numbers, velocity wise. Now, I don't know if those numbers are accessible, but if the 3 out of the 4, 75% of his games are pitched in quote unquote bad weather, you'd be right to assume that you're seeing a negative impact on his numbers, right?
He did not pitch against the Diamondbacks. He pitched against the Cardinals on opening day, which they set a record for coldest opening day in the history of the Reds stadium. So that will tell you that. He pitched against the Pirates, which was actually the best weather of the foursome here. At San Francisco, believe it or not, was like 50 degrees and super windy night game. Yeah, so it was not good. And then he just pitched again against the Diamondbacks, and it was cold again. We were just talking before the stream, like it started snowing again here already this week. So, yeah, so that does it for the Sox and Reds breakdown. Let's kind of close with this. We are going to close with kind of the weekend preview and closing remarks going forward. So who do the Sox have this weekend in their series? And I can kind of touch on the Reds.
Yeah, we have the Texas Rangers coming to town this weekend. A big treat for, I think, Sox fans and Rangers fans, honestly, is Dane Dunning is going to get an appearance at the Rangers. So
he's been solid this year.
Yeah, if he shoves against us, I'm sure everybody will be calling for him. Everybody will be talking about the Lance Lynn trade. So, but yeah, it'll be exciting. I'm a big fan of Dane Dunning. I loved him. I didn't really want him to go, but getting a guy like Lance Lynn is great. So I'm looking forward to his appearance.
I wish the Sox had an elite left-handed pitcher, because I'd be throwing him in DFS, because the Rangers are terrible against left-handed pitching. Just FYI for all you fantasy folks out there.
I think Keuchel might be going though. I got to look at the rotation again, but I think Keuchel might be in there.
Yeah, but he's kind of a bum, I think. So.
Oh, come on. Come on. We just went over how gaudy Luis Castillo's numbers are, and you're telling me Dallas Keuchel sucks. Come on. Okay. Look,
he's the worst version of Kyle Hendricks.
If Carlos Rodon was going, damn well you'd throw him in DFS.
Oh, yeah, easily, for sure.
Yeah.
That's who I want to go. When did he last pitch?
In Cleveland. So Tuesday? Monday?
So right now it's looking like Cease, Keuchel, and to be determined on Sunday is what I'm looking at least.
Yeah. Oh, well, the Cease, man, Dylan Cease. The Dylan Cease game is going to be 4 hours and 54 minutes with 17 walks, and it's going to be a 2-1.
Don't jinx my guy. I have him on fantasy team.
It's going to be 2-1. I tweeted this out the other day. He gets off on just loading the bases with nobody out just to see if he can get out of it. It's ridiculous.
I'm glad I haven't been able to catch a lot of his starts then, because that would make me a nervous wreck as a fantasy owner. Okay, so I'm hoping for you and for me, for winning money standpoint of things, I really hope Rodon's going on Sunday, because I will definitely be pitching him against the Rangers if that's the case. Which sounds like there's a chance. I mean, he pitched on Tuesday, so he's got a chance to throw on Sunday.
Yeah,
the Reds are looking like, who do we have? So we have, oh gosh, the freaking Cardinals. This should be fun. This should be really fun, actually. Castellanos is back from suspension, so this will hopefully get our gears rolling in the right direction. We have Sonny Gray, looks like, on Friday night, Wade Miley on Saturday, and Castillo rounding it out on Sunday. So that'd be a pretty interesting series there. The Cardinals looking like they're throwing out Kim, Gant, and Flaherty. So
you guys are definitely losing on Saturday. Wade Miley's going to get hit around quite a bit, I think.
Gant, though? Gant's not that great.
Yeah, but if you look at St. Louis's offense, I mean, Nolan Arenado can beat you by himself.
Yeah. Wade Miley's actually been decent this year.
He's been our best guy. What do you mean?
He's been pretty good. And it is in St. Louis, which I like him pitching away from Great American Ballpark a lot more than I do inside of it. He's the type of pitcher that you definitely want in a pitcher's ballpark. His stuff kind of plays. This is going to sicken you that I'm even saying this, but he's a lot closer to Dallas Keuchel than you think he is. So it'll be pretty interesting series. Man, the Reds need it in the worst way after getting swept by the Diamondbacks, and sounds like the Sox are kind of a little bit hit or miss as well recently. So be pretty interesting to see how they fare this weekend in the series. Texas isn't that great, so
no, Texas sucks. But you know what though, the way this team is going right now, I don't know. When the White Sox are going and the Tigers come to town or the Pirates come to town, it's like, yeah, okay, we'll put these 3 wins in the bag and then get ready for the next series. Now it's one of those things where it's like, what could go wrong? So we'll see what happens. I think they just need to they need to get back on track, and maybe this is the series to do it. Maybe everybody starts hitting the baseball all around the ballpark and to get back in the swing of things. But right now it's very teeter-totter.
Ooh, something else I wanted to look up. Let's do this let's close on this. So the White Sox, what we didn't look at was who they might be facing from the Rangers, and I'm really hoping and praying we get a lefty on the mound.
Oh yeah, you and me both. You and me both.
Looks like, well, so it's Dunning and Gibson, and then it's Arihara, so 3 righties. Dang.
Yeah.
Well, can't have everything, I guess.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers.
Well, that closes it out for the weekend preview here. Let's kind of close with closing remarks. Anything else in your mind? Obviously, I appreciate you joining me in such late notice. Didn't really know what to do, whether I was going solo or had a guest or what was going on. So I appreciate you jumping on with me. I could probably have you on every week and be perfectly content. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I might try and just see if there's a public fantasy league that I can jump into, because going over these numbers, like, this is what I do during football season. I'm very analytical during football season. So
yeah,
this really, it heightened the itch a little bit. So we'll see over the next couple of days if I can get myself into a league. But I think we're getting to the point where a lot of these teams are starting to finally play. I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like, the Sox especially have played the same damn teams over and over again. And you're finally starting to see, you're starting to see a different team here and there on the schedule. But for me, man, home weekend series, like when your favorite team is at home, it's the best. So I can't wait for this weekend.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've already seen enough of the Diamondbacks for this season. So
like 18 times already. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we have lost 5 out of the 6 games we played them. That's so good. And they've all been games that we probably could have won. So it's just like those heart-wrenching, bullpen games towards the end that just rip your heart out. So hopefully kind of get a little bit of wind under us and swing things in the right direction here against St. Louis. That'd be even better with it being a divisional opponent. So really interesting weekend ahead for the Redlegs. And the Sox, I mean, I think they'll be fine. Cleveland's not really playing the greatest, right? I mean, they're kind of like hit or miss. I never know if they're doing great or they can kind of be streaky.
Central's hit or miss right now. I feel like the only team that's really going is the Dodgers. But like
the A's,
what, 11 in a row?
Yeah,
something not just ridiculous. That team is so damn fun to watch. But like I said, everything, American League Central and even the National League Central, it's just, you get a team that puts up a bunch of runs one day and you're like, oh, here they go, and then they lose by 12 the next day, and it's like nobody knows. Too early. And we'll see. Maybe somebody picks it up and turns a corner like sometime in June. But right now, no sign of it.
Yep, just gotta preach patience, and I'm talking to myself more than anybody. So, it is what it is. All right, let's close with this. I'll let you kind of plug your whatever you have coming up and plug your social platforms, and then I can kind of do the same. We'll get out of here.
Yeah, so all my sports stuff is on Twitter at OnTapJosh, and I'm posting a lot more on Instagram, just non-sports stuff. But if you're interested, Instagram is at HeyJoshB, just JOSHB with a hey in front of it. And I'm just trying to get that up a little bit. I'm trying to be a lot more consistent on there. But for the sports stuff, definitely is Twitter at OnTapJosh.
And you have a new YouTube channel, correct? I
do have a new YouTube channel. I'm easing into that thing. I don't want to be the person who's like, I'm posting every day. And I just, 2 weeks in, I'm like, I have 2 videos. But once a week, usually every Tuesday.
Is it just Josh Barlog, your page?
Yeah. You search it, it'll come up. I think I have a pinned tweet on my Twitter as well. That'll get you right to it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and most of you can find me at jcrockett24 on pretty much all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter. I don't really get on Facebook a whole lot, but I'm streaming live there consistently. Like I said, the new YouTube channel, Fantasy Sports with Jesse Clark. I know you've kind of dabbled into the music stuff. You're putting some stuff out. I need to do more of that. You don't know this about me, but I do the same thing, and I want to. I play. I'm not great at playing, but I sing.
I didn't
yeah.
know this.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to start posting some things occasionally when I can, some creative stuff I've kind of been just putting off for whatever reason
No,
for
you
the
have
last.
to. You have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. So I'll get more into that. That'll be pretty fun. But maybe I can post some short little snippets on the new YouTube channel, and maybe that will give you guys an excuse to actually subscribe. Yeah, so I don't have too much else to plug. I'm going to be doing a couple baseball briefs segments again. Probably, I'll probably record them over the weekend. I'll release them occasionally, either this weekend or early next week. They'll both be timely. I won't do it, and then release it like a week later after the pitcher's already pitched again or something. I want to make sure that they're pretty timely, and then I'm going to hopefully, fingers crossed, I can continue doing the once a week project over at Longball. That would be beautiful. So make sure you guys are keeping track of both Josh and I's creativity and work that we're putting out. And as always, appreciate you guys tuning in. This does it for the 4th episode of the Longball Lounge Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the weekend, guys.